All right, so welcome. I am always so excited to start a new STAR cohort because this is one of my favorite trainings of all time. I've been doing it for a long time and it still never gets old. I learn something new every time. So I'm happy to have you all here and I hope that you are going to enjoy it as much as I generally do. So the purpose of our webinar today is to get us started in STAR training. And to do that, we want to have you see the big picture, where we're headed with the project. You'll start to see what your classrooms and your programs might look like when you're implementing evidence-based reading instruction with your intermediate level readers. We're going to talk about the activities that we'll do to get there. We'll take a look at the syllabus. Hopefully you all received your copy of the syllabus. If not, it is in the website in the discussion forum. We'll talk about the course content and timelines that are on that syllabus. And you also hopefully got the email from me that I sent late yesterday that had the tech tool sheet in it as well to help you navigate some of the electronic resources. At the end of this webinar, I'm going to walk you through the website just to answer any questions about navigation and where to find things that you need as you're going through the training. Okay. So we're going to start this morning though by looking at this newly redesigned shopping cart. So I want you to look carefully at this cart and then either use the chat or unmute to share things that you observe about this cart. We've got red handles.
I noticed my small items are going to fall out the sides.
Becky's concerned about small items falling out the sides. Darcy said it has 2 different size wheels. Yeah. Anything else? Only 2 wheels that we can see, right? It's true. Anything else you notice? That front bumper might catch on anything protruding from the floor. Jeremy's worried about knocking over a display in the store. That's... Anything else? It looks flat, only 2-dimensional. All right, so there are several things that most, smaller wheel in front. Will the product slide to the front of the card? There's not a small basket for your child or your purse. Not much space for things underneath. See, you're getting warmed up now. There's several things that most people notice when we ask them about this cart, and you've hit most of them, right? Those front wheels are small and they don't touch the ground. So what if it will tip over, right? There's no bottom shelf for those large items. It's very limited space underneath. Where am I going to put my big bale of toilet paper? Right? So there's no baby seat for your child or your purse or your reusable shopping bags or whatever else you put in that little front compartment, right? Like Becky said, the openings in the sides are really wide, so things can fall out and then you've just got a mess and you're having to pick things up. You had a lot of those same observations and maybe even a few more as you looked at this cart. So when we see something new, we tend to think about how that new thing will fit in our current environments or circumstances. So right away when we looked at this cart, we thought about how it wouldn't work in the grocery stores we typically shop in. We thought how it wasn't like our conception of a shopping cart. But what if this newly redesigned shopping cart was in a newly redesigned store? Maybe that smaller front wheel docks onto a device like a robot vacuum kind of thing that propels itself around the store. So I don't even have to push it when it gets heavy and all my stuff is in it. Maybe there's no child seat because there's a daycare center in this store and you don't have to take your crying kid around the grocery store with you and have them beg for everything. Or maybe in this new store, you just submit your grocery list electronically and your cart is filled and delivered to your home. We've all had some experience with that in the recent past, right? Where we weren't necessarily going into the grocery store to get our groceries. We start looking at this cart and thinking about our conceptions of it, because in this project, you will be redesigning your shopping cart, which is the way you currently teach reading. You'll be learning new techniques for diagnostic assessment and for instruction. And you'll probably find that your new cart, those evidence-based reading techniques that you're going to learn to teach reading, might not work with every part of your old store, which is your classroom and your program structure. So the STAR project was designed to help you remodel your store as you build your new cart. It's really tempting to just work on the cart and forget about the store. But if you don't remodel the store, the new cart won't work. So as you learn the new techniques for teaching reading and you're building that new shopping cart, also think about the changes you might need to make to your store, which is your classroom and your program, to enable you to use that new shopping cart to its maximum potential. That two-pronged approach of working on mastering new techniques while making needed structural and functional changes is supported by research on successful implementation gathered by the National Implementation Research Network, or NIRN. Now, this probably sounds like a lot of work, and it is, right? But I'm going to be here to help, and we have a period of months to do this work. I also want to start out by letting you know your stores aren't going to all look alike. They don't look alike now. You're going to have to decide what things need to be remodeled in your classroom and your program, and how you're going to remodel them in order to use the evidence-based reading techniques to the best of your ability in your program. Now, some of you are from programs who've already begun implementing evidence-based reading instruction, so your colleagues probably have already remodeled some things in your store. I've been through this process multiple times. Way back when STAR was new, I built my own shopping cart and remodeled my own store, and we've been, you know how they do the reset and then you can't find anything in your store where you shop all the time because they moved everything around. I've reset my store, I can't even tell you how many times, right? Because new things happen, new people come in, new ideas come out, we get new materials. I've also worked with people in many different states, in many different kinds of programs to do this same thing. So I've seen a lot, I've done a lot, I've got a lot of ideas, and I will be here to help you avoid some of the pitfalls and get through some of the barriers that we naturally face when we're making big changes as we go along. So this is Lori's classroom in Chicago. She's working with 20 intermediate level readers. Sometimes they work together as a whole class, but mostly Lori has them working in small groups. Lori did a diagnostic reading assessment for each of her students, so she knows what each student needs to work on as far as accurate decoding, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Her diagnostic assessment also identified what level of text would be challenging, but not too difficult for each student. Throughout the class period, the students group and regroup according to their needs and the levels of text that are most appropriate for them to be working with. Lori moves from group to group, providing direct instruction. And sometimes while she's working with one group, the other students are working on assignments on their own. Sometimes Lori has more than one group working at a time, and she moves in between the groups. Some days she has an aide who can work with some of the groups. And to keep this all organized and help the students know what to do next, Lori's organized a classroom routine. Lori had to build a new shopping cart. She had to make some changes in the way she taught reading, and she also had to remodel her store, her classroom, and do some remodeling at the program level in order to do the diagnostic assessment and to organize her classroom routine to fit in instruction for all the groups. So, kind of beginning with the end in mind, when you're finished with this months-long training, you'll be doing diagnostic assessment with each intermediate level reader to determine which components are instructional priorities and what levels of text are best for each student. Then you'll group the students and create an instructional routine, something like you see on the screen, for teaching reading to your intermediate level students. Of course, everybody's routine will be different because your students are different and they'll have different instructional priorities and need to work with different levels of text. You'll figure out the best way to create a routine like this one to meet the specific needs of your students. And over the next several months, I'll be helping you learn how to do diagnostic assessment, how to teach reading using evidence-based techniques and strategies, but you're going to decide what materials to use. I can help you if you need ideas for finding texts at grade levels or other materials, but you can basically select any text as long as it's at the correct level for your students for a reading component. You're in charge of building your new shopping carts in evidence-based reading instruction. And like Lori, you'll need to do some remodeling of your stores. So I'll be helping you with those aspects as well. If you've had a chance to look at your syllabus, you might want to recall it or refer back to it now. Again, you were emailed a copy, but you also can always find it attached to the welcome post in the discussion forum. You can also find a copy of it on the star page of the South Dakota All website. There are 3 sections of this training. In section 1, you'll learn about components of reading and how to conduct diagnostic assessments. And we'll have a one-day face-to-face meeting at the end of section 1. Section 2 focuses on delivering evidence-based instruction in each of the 4 components of reading. A one-day face-to-face meeting will be held at the end of section 2. We're not 100% set on the day for this training yet, but we're thinking either March 23rd or March 30th. We will let you know as soon as possible so you can plan ahead for that. And then section 3 focuses on putting everything together into an instructional routine and fully implementing in a pilot class. That training, the whole training will end on June 9th, 2023, which it sounds crazy to me to say 2023, even though it's just a couple months away now. Any questions about that? Oh, somebody posted in the chat, I finished module 3 and it's not indicated on my dashboard. That's because there's not an assignment with module 3. And that's a great question, but we'll talk about that as we get a little deeper into the tech stuff. Yeah, we'll talk about what that dashboard means. I know we do have to reschedule because when I did this, we didn't have the T3s on our calendar yet. I don't know why, but we will have to reschedule the our second webinar that's upcoming. I had it scheduled for the 20th of October, but it was like bumping into our 3rd Thursday training, and we don't want to do that. When Kim sent out your welcome letter, there was a link in that letter to a survey about days and times that are good for meetings like that. If you did not see that, please pull that back out and take a look. I can also pull that link out and send it to you in a separate email as well, but please take a look at that survey and fill it out so we can plan. We want to plan as much as we can around your needs and your schedules, because again, we're not a huge group. So we'll be able to do a little bit of targeted planning around when we have our meetings and things. Okay. So each of those training sections, each of those 3 sections contains learning modules. Most modules are completed online on your own, so you can do them when it's convenient for you. You can stop to reflect. You can go back and look at parts again if you want to. There are a few modules that are program team meetings, which means you'll want to meet with your team members from your own site, either in person or remotely, whichever works best for you, to collaborate on those assignments. On modules that are team meetings, only one person needs to submit the team's work for the entire group. So you can decide who's going to actually go in and type in what you worked on in the module, but then everybody gets credit. And we'll look at that again on the dashboard so you can see how that looks. The first time you need to go through all the modules in order. But after you've completed a module, it will be open for you to go back to it anytime. The online modules use explicit instruction where new techniques are explained and modeled, and you're guided through some online practice, followed by assignments where you try the new techniques with your students and share reflections in your online program portfolio. Other participants from your program will be able to support you by reading your reflections and discussing your ideas and questions. So you can look at each other's work in there. I'll also participate in the discussions in your program portfolio. I'll give you feedback on your work. You'll want to plan time to post your own reflections and plan time to respond to the questions and ideas that others from your program post. And then you can also share and receive support from everybody in our training outside of your program by posting questions or making comments in our discussion forum, which I think everybody has been in the discussion forum at least once. I think I saw a post from everybody in there. And again, we'll look at those features when we look at the technology at the end, when we get into the website itself. So as you work through the modules, there are several things you can do to help yourself, all right? The first suggestion I would make is always start by reading the comment that I post in the discussion for the module. I follow the syllabus when I do this. So, you know, as we work through module 2 today, you'll go in and you'll see some discussion forum posts when we're done for module 3 and module 4, probably in that discussion forum. In those posts, I try to preview what's important in the module to give you some focus. And sometimes I give helpful information that you might need in order to do the activities that you're asked to do. So look in that discussion forum first and read through the posts that I have there. Then view the module and look at the resources for that module. Some participants like to look at the resources first, and others prefer to view the module and then look at the resources. It's up to you how you do that. If the module has an assignment, the teachers will do the assignment in their online portfolio. And all of the assignments ask you to try out what you're learning with your actual students. When you're finished, you'll submit your assignment for approval. I'll give you feedback and either approve it or ask you to make some changes and resubmit. If you're an administrator who's also teaching a class, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to work with your students and you're going to go in and you're going to submit your work. If you're an administrator who's not teaching a class right now, you don't need to do those assignments. Your assignment is to look at the assignments that your teachers post, make comments, or make comments in your own portfolio about the impact that you saw the module might have on your program. Okay. I'm not sure that we have any administrators who aren't teaching who are planning to go through the whole training. Because Laura, I know you've already been through, so I don't know if you're planning to go through and do everything again or not. No.
Right. That may be something that I share with Diana, since she also has leadership role with our program.
Perfect. Okay. I think that you were the only one that I wasn't sure about. So the other thing that you'll be doing is hopefully with the other people in your group, collaborating and sharing and supporting each other, not only in the online system, but also out in your classrooms. One of my favorite things to do in STAR training in the past has always been to get to do classroom observations, because I always learn so much from observing my colleagues when they're teaching and watching how they do their work. So from the syllabus, you can see your next steps are to complete modules 3 and 4 on your own. Some of you are already working ahead. There's a reason that I didn't approve your module 1 until yesterday, because I didn't want you to get too far ahead before we talked. I know some of you are going to put your foot on the gas on this, right? Modules 3 and 4 are short informational modules. There's no assignments attached to those, so there's nothing to submit. Then module 5 is a program group meeting. So you'll want to meet with your team from your program. Generally, this takes about an hour. It might take you less, right? I would suggest that you schedule that meeting soon after this webinar so you can get it on your calendars. We want you to have that done before we do our next webinar where we talk about conducting the assessments. We're going to go a little bit more in depth on the assessments in that one. So you'll want to have, wait, I got to see myself for this one. I had to move my thing so I could see all of you. You should all have one of these somewhere in your site, Beta Reading and Language Inventory. If you don't have one, they are actually available for not very much money on Amazon. Cornerstones, if you don't have one, talk to me. Everybody else, if you don't have one, you're going to want to put your hands on one. The state purchased these for every single program the last go around that we did this. So I'm assuming they will still be somewhere at your site. But if you don't have one, you will need one. So go out and look for it online. They're also listed in the resources section with a link for where you can go to purchase them.
Becky, I have a question. On the screen that you're sharing, it shows that the webinar is now on the 19th. Is that the new?
You know, tentatively I put it there. I'm willing to listen to input. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll reach back out with you just so that we can figure out
Sure.
that time for me.
Yep. Perfect. So in that webinar that is still kind of tentatively scheduled but not set in stone, so don't stress about that yet. You will want to have access to your beta assessment book. We're going to preview the assessment materials and give you some suggestions on organizing them for students, both either face-to-face or remotely to do those diagnostic assessments. Then there's going to be 4 modules that you'll complete on your own. And each one of those modules explains how to do diagnostic assessment in one of the 4 reading components: alphabetics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. At the end of these 4 modules, you'll be practicing giving diagnostic assessments in that reading component and reflecting on your experiences in your program portfolio. And whenever you do a module where you have an assignment to post something in your program portfolio, I will provide you feedback. So you'll need to check back and see what I say. Sometimes I'll tell you that additional action is needed on that assignment. And I try to be clear when I do that. If you do have questions or need help, you can respond to me right in the website in your program portfolio, or you can always email me. I will tell you sometimes, even if I approve, well, always, even if I approve your module, I will make comments in there. So even if you go back in and see that approved on your dashboard, check back in and just see what I said. I might ask you a question or make a comment that you'd be interested in. When you get to module 10, you'll see a video of complete diagnostic assessment of all 4 components, and then you'll practice doing those complete assessments of all 4 components. And then in December, the purpose of that face-to-face meeting is to talk about our diagnostic assessment experiences and dig a little deeper. So as you do your assessments, you'll be sharing your practice results in your program portfolio. During that face-to-face meeting, we'll be going over those results and talking about what they mean. So you'll want to complete modules 1 to 10 prior to that meeting. I've scheduled those modules out on the syllabus, but you know your individual and program schedules, so plan ahead for any times you might not have students to practice with, or that you might know that you're going to be swamped with other work and you're not going to have a lot of time to get in and do any of those online modules. You'll want to work your timeline backwards from December 15th to allow plenty of time to complete those modules and do the diagnostic assessment practice before the meeting date. Like I can give you an example. At Cornerstones, we're having an all-staff meeting the last week in November. Our staff knows they're not going to have a lot of time for anything else other than those all-staff meetings that week, right? So they're not going to want to save a lot of star work to do during the last week of November. And I'm sure everybody else has just as many of those things as we do on their calendars already. You probably already noticed that you couldn't move beyond module 1 until you submitted it and I approved it. Some other modules are locked like this, but most are not. The next locked module is module 9, because we don't want you moving on to do a complete diagnostic assessment in module 10 until we know that you're clear about the processes for each of the assessments in each component. I'll always try to give you feedback within a day or so you won't be delayed. Modules 6 through 8 don't have any locks, so you can start on the next module before you even hear from me if you want to. Just be sure again to go back and look at and respond to my feedback. That will also allow you to look at the next module even before completing the assignment for the previous module. The idea isn't that you view all the modules and then go back and do all the assignments, but if you're stuck, say, without a student to assess, you can go ahead and work ahead on the next module and then go back and do a couple of assessments with a student once you have a student available. You're in charge. This is a flipped classroom model, right? So you're in charge and then in that online system of where you want to go and what you want to do and how you want to handle the work that you're going to do there. Darcy mentioned she doesn't have a team. It's okay, Darcy. You are your team. So I think we talked last week about the fact that I'm not real great with group assignments. You don't have to worry about your group. You can just do what you want to do. So I know you're going to check in with your admin though too on some things, but yep. It's like when you have those program team meetings, you can do those yourself. It'll be okay. All right, any other questions about anything we've covered so far? I want to make sure you all have my contact information. I think most of you had it before, but I know there are some of you who are very new to adult ed in South Dakota. So there's my email and my phone number. Don't hesitate to email me or give me a call. I'll be checking in with you as well. I will say that, and we'll talk about this in a minute too when we get into the website and look at the tech. I will be your go-to for all of your content questions. If you have technical issues, I can answer some of those questions, but the tech team is far more reliable in their answers. And usually when you ask me a tech question, I'm just forwarding it on to them anyway. So I'll show you where you can go in and directly request help from the tech team if you need it. Okay. Any questions? If not, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and I'm going to walk you through logging in. Okay, you should all be seeing an incognito window on Chrome, right? Because I have problems logging in. Not incognito when I'm not logging in as myself. And my dashboard is terrifying to look at because I have access to not just everybody in South Dakota, but everybody in the country who's training right now, which is a little scary. So the website is star.links.ed.gov. If you're ever confused, that's the one you go back to. And I'm going to log in not as me or any of you, but as a test user. I might have done that password wrong. Nope. Something had to go right this week, right? So first try. So when you log in, you will see your own program dashboard. All right. So I'm logged in as South Dakota Test User 1, so I'm bolded here. My coworker in this test group is South Dakota Test User 2, and you can see, I can see that person's stuff as well. If you, I mean, this is just me, I would bookmark or pin that site so it's just easy to get to. And it's easier to log in then. I'm going to show you a few features on here. Some of them are pretty obvious. Some of them are a little bit hidden, but they can be very helpful to you. So the first thing I want to show you is, here's you. This is going to say your name when you log in, right? If I click here, I see my user profile. Some of you had a lot of problems filling out that participant profile. I sent that glitch on to the tech team. They could not replicate it. I don't know what happened. I got the same thing when I did it as test user. So it was real. Don't doubt that. What happened was real, and I don't know what, I mean, it wasn't anything that you did, but your participant information was weird and it wasn't showing up then. You can actually go here and edit that participant information. This wasn't showing up for me before and it's showing up now. So yours might also be showing up in your portfolio now, but you can hit edit and add that stuff in if it's not. Your participant agreement is listed there, and you can see any portfolio submissions that you've made are also listed there. You've got a list of any students that you input as well. And then if you go clear down to the bottom, and I gotta move my Zoom toolbar because it's in my way. You'll see under my account, there's a link called settings. See that? If you click on settings, you get a few different things. It lets you change your email address or your password if you really want to. You can change your display name. So like Becky Backus is probably in there as Rebecca Backus. If you want to be Becky in the system, you can be Becky in the system. You can change your time zone. This one's actually set on New York. So I would go in and change that to the Chicago, to Central Time. You can check what kinds of email you want to receive. And this is one of the features I wanted to show you. If you click here on enable email notifications, you will get a system ping whenever I do anything to approve a submission you have, or when I leave a comment in your portfolio, or when someone else comments in the discussion forum. If there's new posts in the discussion forum, you'll get a ping there too. You can choose if you want to receive those by event. That's the default. Or if you'd rather just get it once a day, so they're not constantly popping up at you, you can click that receive a daily digest. And then once a day, you'll get an email that'll come to you and say, here's what happened in the STAR website today. Okay. If you check those options, be sure to hit save, and it will save the changes that you've made. Okay. I really suggest setting those email notifications. It's just, I know for me, it's nice to just have them pop up. It's kind of like my STAR to-do list. Like, oh, I have to go in and I have to look at these things. Mine is going to be way bigger than yours, because you're just going to get the ones from your own team, and then the discussion forum posts from the cohort or anything from me, I'm going to get them from everybody. We're still not that big of a group, so it'll be okay. The heart of your STAR website is this dashboard, and there's links to the dashboard at the top and the bottom of each page. If you're ever lost, just click on dashboard and it'll take you back to this screen where you can kind of find everything. Okay, this is where you're going to access all of your e-learning modules, your portfolio exercises, the STAR community, all those different things. You can keep track of your progress here and the progress of your team members. So this is always your starting point for everything that you're going to do. And it is the landing point when you log in. You can see you've also got a link to the discussion forum, which again, I know that you've all found because you've gone in and you've added to discussions. So I don't know what this is from, but it's somebody who's not even in South Dakota. So if you've seen that module 3, what is EBRI by Shelley, just ignore it. I think it might just be a wonky thing that I got in my test user 1. I hope so. But you can see here, you've got 2 posts at least. You've got the syllabus and trainer contact information, where you can download the syllabus there. You've also got one that's the welcome, please introduce yourself. It says there's 16 new posts because the test user hasn't read any of them yet. So if you go in and you see like a certain number new, that just means those are new since the last time you logged in and read them. So if I click here and look at that welcome thread, you can see all those posts. You can learn more about your colleagues who were in this training. And then when I go back, oh, it still says 16 new. It shouldn't. I wonder if it's because I used my back arrow. Probably. There they go. Now they went away. So it'll show you that you've read them all and you don't have anything new to look at. Okay. There's also a resource tab. And as I mentioned, there's a ton of resources here. We add to resources all the time as new things come out and we discover new things. There's a lot of resources, but they're organized into groups. So this first one, articles and books on evidence-based reading instruction. These are just general articles on evidence-based reading. This is when we talk about the evidence base, this is a lot of the foundation of that evidence base for STAR. There's really interesting articles there. Not all of them are long, okay? You've got resources for diagnostic assessment. You'll be looking at some of those in the near future, probably. And then you have resources for instruction. And we start out with vocabulary instruction. Each of the components is organized the same way. First, you've got resources for lesson planning. And you'll see some of these are just PDFs. They're like little either lesson plan templates or reminders of how an activity works. We've got teacher resources, and here that's the academic word list for vocabulary. And then we've got student materials. We've got, for vocabulary, we've got some instructional units created by educators who are implementing EBRI, and then some commercially available materials that you can purchase. And then the last one is always professional articles and books. Again, if you want to learn more about evidence-based vocabulary instruction and you're into reading those research pieces, you can look there. And as I said, there's one of those for each component, and they're all laid out the same way: lesson planning, teacher resources, student materials, and professional articles and books. So that resource section is going to be your friend if you're thinking, well, where do I go to find Tier 2 words for vocabulary instruction? Always look back to the resources. There's going to be help there. This tab, help, is where you go if you need help. And this is, again, that technical help. If you need technical help with the website, with logins, with anything like that, click on help. If you've got a general question about STAR or need help with logins or passwords, here's the email you're going to use: starsupport@links.ed.gov. If you're having another technical problem, fill out our tech support help form. This tech support help form is really useful, but the more information you give them, the better off you're going to be in helping to get that problem identified and solved. So what state are you in? What team are you on? What kind of computer are you on? Okay, so how are you accessing? What browser are you on? Are you on Chrome? Are you on Edge? Are you on Firefox? Are you on something else? If you can give them the web address of the page that the error happened on, and then just a little description of what you were trying to do when something didn't work. What kind of error message you got. The best thing you can do is grab a screenshot and just upload it, and then they can see exactly what you're seeing when something goes wrong. And that's actually what I did, is I screenshotted that screen of gobbledygook that I got when I tried to submit the participant information form, and just sent it to him. And I was like, this is what we're seeing. I don't know what's happening here. And then when did the error occur, you know, the date and about what time, because with websites, it matters. Sometimes they can go back and they can find something in their logs for how it happened. So that's the help ticket, and they are very good about getting back to us as quickly as they can. The web developers are actually working in the system all the time right now because of some updates that they're doing for other reasons. So they're very quick to get in and take a look when something goes wrong. Okay, questions about that? Okay, I'm going to click back to my dashboard then. I'm going to show you, we'll get into the module part, but first I want to scroll down and show you a couple other things. Each of these is collapsible, so you can tighten it up and make it a little more condensed if you want to. You've also got a queue to new posts in your discussion forum down at the bottom of your page. So it'll show you any posts that have been made in your discussion forum recently. You can actually shortcut here to start a discussion post from your dashboard screen. You can post to everybody in our South Dakota training, or you can post just to the people at your site. So like at LSS, Diana and Kate, you can just post to your little group if you want to, or if you want to share with everybody, you can post to South Dakota. Okay, you can also do that from the big discussion forum link at the top. It'll also show you recent portfolio submissions. So if you are not sure about your portfolio submissions and where they are, there's little spots down here, and it'll tell you if something has been updated or if there's something new since the last time you logged in. You'll be able to see, like if something says updated, that probably means that I've been in it and made a comment on it. I'm going to actually pop back up to the discussion forum button and show you. If you want to add a discussion from here, again, you just hover over add a discussion, and you can add either to the South Dakota team or your own team, your program team. If you want to add a post, I'm going to show you one other trick. Put a title on it, you know, just what it's about. You don't have to list an audience there, so you can leave that one blank. But right here, this little drop down where it says plain text, this is fine for most things, but if you want to share a link or anything like that, you're going to want to click there and go down to this weird little acronym. It actually stands for what you see is what you get. Developers call it WYSIWYG. But if you click on WYSIWYG, you'll see you have the ability to bold, italic, do a bulleted list or a numbered list. You can create a link in here that'll actually be an active link. If you do it in the other one, the links turn into just a mess of stuff and it's not usable. Like you can't just click on it from the post. You also have the ability to attach a file. So you can attach a file from your computer. If you just hit browse, you can attach something in there and it lets you upload a file. So there's a lot of different features in here. Now I gotta figure out how to cancel this. But what if I don't want to anymore? I'll just back out of it. I can't believe there's not a cancel button on that. I might have to tell the developers that. But yeah, you can go in and you can do a lot of different things on those discussion posts. But I always go in and switch that plain text to the one that I can make a little prettier, just because it's a little bit more readable for, especially for different things. You can also upload pictures and things. I've actually had people attach, lesson plans when they go in and do a comment, or screenshots of things that they've done. So you've got that ability in there. Okay. Then a couple things just about going in and navigating the modules from here. You all managed to get into that introduction, right? And get it entered and approved. 2 is the webinar. There is a recorded webinar, just like a generic webinar that's not South Dakota specific in there if you want to go back and rewatch it, but we'll also have the recording of this one. And then one of you, at least one of you has already gone in and clicked on the what is EBRI, right? You'll see this one is just one that you watch. So you watch this module, it's about 45 minutes long. I'm actually going to click in it because I'll show you a couple of things in here. Every module is set up the same way. You can make it full screen if you want to see it really big, but you don't have to do that. You've got volume control here that lets you adjust your volume. You might have to also adjust your system volume. You have your next and back buttons, but you can also set the module for continuous play so that you don't have to hit that next button. It'll just keep going. I'm more of a control freak with that. I don't like it to just keep going. Sometimes I want it to stop, but if you want to just let it play, you can just let it play. On every module, you're going to have in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to have a little button there that says menu. That lets you go back. And so if you know you want to look at a specific thing, I would highly recommend you go straight through the module the first time. But if you want to go back and look at a particular thing, like, oh, I want to look at that processing words versus text again, you can jump to that particular part. Okay. That's especially helpful when you're doing your reflection and you think, oh, I want to remember what that part said. I want to go back and look at it again. You've also got a little tab in the upper right-hand corner that's resources. These are resources that are all on that main resource page, but these are the ones that are specific to Module 3. There's a ton of them in Module 3 because we're talking about what is evidence-based reading instruction. So there's a lot of the pieces that form that evidence base in there. But again, that's a handy shortcut to finding some of the resources that might apply to you doing the work that you're going to do within that module. Okay. So with this one, after you've viewed the module, there's nothing else to do. Which again is why it doesn't say approved, because there wasn't an assignment there. We're just taking it on faith that you went in and watched that one. So you'll do that with number 3 and number 4. Number 5, you'll see the little group of people there. That lets you know that this is one of the group assignments. So you can see test user 1 actually has this one marked as approved. Test user 2 does as well, but they don't have like the big green check mark arrow. So that test user 1 is the one that submitted this one, right? When you want to go into any module, if you haven't yet completed it, you're going to go in on this left-hand menu, right? The first time you click on a module, you're going to click on this left-hand menu. You're going to click on the module. It's going to open up. You're going to read the directions. In this module, you're going to learn how to conduct alphabetics assessment. You're going to hear examples. Here's what's going to happen. After you watch the module, go on to the exercises below. So you're going to click and watch the module. And then you're going to go down here and read what the assignment is. So it says review the alphabetics assessments you're using, get word lists for word identification and phonics, blah, blah, blah. Then assess at least 2 students and answer reflection questions on the assessments. Your team members will be able to see and comment on your results. At that point, you're going to go in and click on the button for the assignment, and it's going to take you into the assignment in your portfolio, right? This one got messed up somehow, so I'm not going to click on that one, but I'll show you in a minute what that looks like. Once you've done work and you saved work somehow, don't click here again, because this is going to open up a whole new assignment, and you'll think you've lost the work that you've done before. You didn't. You just created a parallel assignment, but you'll feel like you have to redo it, and that's not true. Once you've done something that you've saved, whether it's saved as a draft or it's awaiting feedback or it needs action, if you want to go back into an assignment you already submitted, click here on these little links and it will take you back into the work you've already done. Okay. It's a very common mistake. If you do it, don't beat yourself up, because it's kind of just an instinct. Oh, I want to go in and look at fluency assessment again. So you click there. But as soon as you see the blank one, don't do anything. Go back to your dashboard and click here and it'll be okay. Here you see the different statuses that you might see on those submissions. So if you get approved, again, that's great. What you did was perfect. I might have some feedback for you. Go in, look at the feedback that I left you in the comments, maybe comment back to me and move on. If you get one of these that says needs action, it means that there was something that just was a little off in this one that's going to need some attention, and you're going to want to redo something and submit again. And if you need to do that, you'll click there. I didn't actually put a comment in here, but you can see you've got the ability in here. You can add a new student. So if you have a new student that you've assessed since you submitted the assignment, you can go back in and add their assessment results. And then if you want to make changes to your reflections, it doesn't actually let you do that from this screen until you hit edit. So once you hit edit, you can go back in and you can type in here again on your reflections. And then you're going to either save as a draft or submit for feedback. And if you hit submit for feedback and go back to your dashboard, you can see now it's changed from needs action to awaiting feedback. And again, that's my cue to go in and take a look at it. When I look at your dashboard and I see awaiting feedback, I know you're ready for me to review that assignment, and I'll go in, take a look, leave you feedback, and mark it either approved or needs action. You can also save as draft. So if you're in the middle of something and you didn't quite get done because somebody needed something from you, I know how that is. You can always save as a draft. And that means you're not done with it yet. You're not ready for me to take a look. And when I see that draft status, I'm not going to go in and review it yet, unless you specifically ask me. I've had participants before tell me, okay, so I started this and then I got in the middle and I got confused. So can you, I saved it as draft, but can you go in and look at it and tell me if I need to do something, or if if I'm on the right track? I will definitely do that for you and leave you some feedback, and we'll go from there. Okay, questions about any of that? When you go into those assessment charts, adding things can be a little confusing there. We'll talk more about that in our next webinar, where we're actually going over the assessment tools, and I'll show you how those things work. If you do get in there and you're confused before that time, I mean, if you click add a new student, you've got some basic fields here. Just know, like, you're going to expand each one of these. And if you get in there and get kind of stuck before our next webinar, just give me a holler and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Okay. Any questions about any of that? Everybody feeling okay about it? It's not a terrible website to use. I will tell you that. It's And strangely enough, most of the bugs have been worked out. I was really surprised when we had the participant agreement issue because we haven't had a whole lot of bugs reported over the last couple of years. It's been running pretty smoothly. I should knock on something when I say that, because as soon as I say it, we'll have more bugs. But if you do run into anything that you're not sure about, you can always ask me, or again, you know how to go in and submit that help ticket as well. So as soon as I set you all up by saying I'm here to help you and we're ready to go, I'm going to be out of the office for a week. Starting next Wednesday, I'm going to be out of the office. I will have limited availability to internet, but I do have my email on my phone, so I'll be able to check in with you on my phone. So I will be checking in and looking at some stuff. So if you do need help, do reach out and I will do anything I can to help you. Or again, if it's a technical issue, do that help ticket and get some help through the help desk. But I'm confident that you all can get started. You're going to do these first couple of modules, which are just going through and viewing information, doing some activities within the modules. You're going to fill out some challenges in module 5, and then you're going to get started looking at assessment. You can go ahead and do these before we have that assessment webinar. But if, like I said, if you get confused and you want to just stop and hang on and wait for that, it's okay to do that too. Okay. Questions, thoughts? Anybody feeling like they should just opt out now because it's just going to be just not good? Now's the time. I can tell you this. I think that evidence-based reading instruction is one of the most fun things that I've done. Not just the training, but the actual instruction with students. It's some of the most fun I've ever had in the classroom, really. And when you do it well, it's very, very impactful for your students as well. You can see kind of immediate results. So I'm very happy to be running another iteration of the STAR training in South Dakota, and I'm excited to get started working with you all. Okay. If you all don't have anything else, I'm going to give you 4 minutes of your life back.
Becky, could I chat with you for just a minute after?
Definitely.
If you're willing to stay on.
Yes, I'm definitely willing to stay on. All right. If you're all good, I'm good too. We will see you next week sometime probably. And again, if you have not yet filled out that survey, I'll make sure to send the link out again to the survey that Kim sent out on just good days and times for other meetings. Okay. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you.